simple woman is laughed at for her scars until a veteran kneels at her tattoo. The Karen Flower Festival bloomed under a sky of endless gold, its air thick with the scent of wild orchids and the hum of laughter. In a small village nestled against the misty hills of northern Thailand, the annual celebration drew crowds from neighboring towns. Stalls overflowed with woven baskets, vibrant textiles, and garlands of flowers that symbolized renewal. But for Mai, a woman of 38 with a quiet gait and weathered hands, the festival was a battlefield of whispers. Mai wore her traditional Karen tunic, its red and white threads faded but meticulously stitched. Her face bore scarce a jagged line across her cheek, another snaking down her forearm, where a vivid tattoo of a Karen flower bloomed in defiance. The scars were relics of a fire that had consumed her childhood home, a tragedy that left her orphaned and marked. The tattoo, inked years later, was her quiet rebellion against the pity and scorn that followed her. To the village, she was the scarred woman, a figure of curiosity and ridicule. Children pointed, adults whispered, and young women giggled behind their hands as she passed. Today, Mai carried a basket of hand-woven bracelets to sell, her head held high despite the familiar sting of mockery. "Look at her face," a teenage girl sneered to her friends, loud enough for Mai to hear. "She thinks a tattoo makes her pretty?" The group erupted in laughter, their voices slicing through the festival's joy. Mai's fingers tightened around her basket, but she kept walking, her lips pressed into a thin line. She was used to this. She had learned to let the words slide off her like rain. At the heart of the festival, a wooden stage hosted a dance performance, where young Karen women twirled in synchronized grace, their skirts swirling like petals. Mai stood at the edge of the crowd, her bracelets unnoticed. She felt the weight of eyes on her, not admiring, but dissecting. A man nearby muttered, "Why does she even come? She should hide those scars." Mai's heart clenched, but she refused to shrink. She had survived worse than their words. Then came the twist no one expected. A stranger emerged from the crowd, a man in his late 50s, his face carved with lines of a life hard-lived. His military jacket, faded and patched, bore the insignia of a war long past. His eyes, sharp and searching, locked onto Mai's tattoo. The crowd parted as he approached, his limp slowing his steps but not his purpose. Whispers faded into a tense hush. Without a word, the veteran knelt before Mai, his knees sinking into the dusty earth. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Mai froze, her breath catching as the man reached out, not to touch her, but to trace the air above her tattoo, as if it were sacred. "This flower," he said, his voice rough but steady, "was on the flag we carried, the Karen resistance. My sister wore it too before she fell." His eyes met Mai's, glistening with unshed tears. "You honor her. You honor us all." The festival seemed to hold its breath. Mai's scars, once a source of shame, now felt like a badge. She didn't know this man, yet his gesture cracked something open in a flood of pride, pain, and recognition. The crowd's mockery dissolved into uneasy silence. The teenage girl who had laughed now stared, her cheeks flushed with shame. The man who had told Mai to hide stood rooted, his mouth agape. The veteran's name was Samchai, a former fighter for the Karen people's freedom, a man who had seen villages burn and families torn apart. He rose slowly, his hand trembling as he saluted Mai. "You carry our story," he said. "Don't let them make you small." Mai nodded, her throat tight, unable to speak. For the first time in years, she felt seen not as a scarred woman, but as a survivor, a bearer of history. Word of the encounter spread through the festival like wildfire. Some villagers approached Mai, their apologies halting but sincere. Others avoided her gaze, wrestling ascendingly. The crowd parted, and Mai stood taller, her basket now drawing curious buyers. By dusk, her bracelets had sold out, and children no longer pointed but asked shyly about her tattoo. Samchai stayed nearby, sharing stories of the resistance, his presence a quiet shield against lingering judgment. But the victory was bittersweet. As the festival ended, Mai learned Samchai was dying cancer, relentless and untreatable. He had come to the festival not for celebration, but for closure, to see the Karen flower one last time, etched on someone who understood its weight. Mai sat with him under the stars, listening to his tales of sacrifice, her tattoo a silent bond between them. When he passed weeks later, the village mourned, and Mai wept, not for her scars, but for a man who had given her a gift greater than any garland, dignity. The festival continued in years to come, but Mai was no longer the scarred woman. Her tattoo became a symbol of resilience, her scars a map of survival. Yet the ache of Samkai's loss lingered, a reminder that heroes often walk unnoticed, their stories fading like petals in the wind. The village learned too late what Mai had always known. True strength lies not in flawless skin, but in the courage to carry one's wounds with pride. What does justice mean when a community scorns its own? Only to honor them when truth is revealed.